Is there username?
Got 4 seconds.
It's not gonna make. Oh, didn't make it.
All right, it's on you.
It's
on you. That's David Church says it's all on me, but that's on you. I'm gonna make sure everybody knows.
This one says.
Okay.
Save the cloud. Is that the same?
Recording is completed.
So are you running?
We are good to go.
We are running. Okay. We'll call to order. Regular city council meeting, December 8th, 2020. We have all council present and David Johnson coming in on Zoom as well as some of the staff. So welcome everybody. I will begin with the prayer or thought because it's my turn in the rotation and followed by the pledge. Our Father in heaven, we're thankful for the opportunity we have to meet and discuss the needs and desires and the future of Blanding City. We're thankful for the opportunity we have to be self-governed and determine our course as a community. And we pray that we'll be able to have an open and honest discussion and be courteous and kind at all times that when we differ. And we're acutely aware of our need for rain and snow in our land and generally throughout the West. And we pray for that blessing to come, that the storms will be engaging and the climate will be tempered to provide us with what we need. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, okay. Council reviewed the agenda, the minutes, financial disbursements. Are there any comments, questions, corrections?
I just had one question on the financial disbursements. We bought 24 Christmas trees, or are those permits?
Those are permits.
Okay, that's what I figured it was.
Someone should buy 24.
I thought, where in the world, in my mind, I was thinking, where'd those 24 trees go?
Oh, you know, here and there.
Yeah.
On the second page on number 5, on the vote there, it should list Mayor Lyman as an aye vote. The mayor votes on the hiring or termination of a city manager, regardless of whether there's a tie. And I was curious about that as to why, and then it occurred to me why. Because mayors rarely vote, they're kind of powerless animals. And when they're making an appointment, their vote on that appointment means that in order to be overruled, it would have to be not just a majority of council, but a super majority. A 3-2 council vote would result in a tie, in which case you keep haggling. But a 4-1 council vote is a 4-2 tie, and the appointment would be denied in that case. And that's the only reason I can think why the legislature wrote it that way, like that, whenever that was done. But anyway, if we add that on there, that's a correction. Anything else?
I'll make a motion that we approve the oh my goodness, December 8th meeting.
Well, that's
That
tonight.
is- oh my gosh. November
Most recent meeting
24th.
in November.
Meeting minutes and the financial disbursements.
Second.
We need to put on the agenda for tonight.
And the agenda, correct. Any questions on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Katie there, okay. We're rolling forward. Is there any particular declaration of conflict of interest on tonight's meeting? Hearing none, we'll go into open forum. Are there any in attendance here this evening that would like to address council in open forum on any issue? We're here to listen if you so desire. Had any emails come in on open forum? I suppose I would have known about them if we did. Okay, Going right into reports then, November water, Terry Ecker.
Roddy, Mayor and Council, we have the November 2020 water report. I guess we have a little bit of snow water equivalent. We're 78% of average, so we must have an inch of snow up there at the snow tail instead of an inch and a half, I guess, probably. But, you know, typically we start off pretty slow, so that's why we're close, or we're fairly high on the average on that. We are, however, only at 45% of precipitation, so pretty indicative of a dry October and kind of staying that way. Our reservoirs are, you know, in that area that we'd expect them to be as we transition out of a decent water year into what looks dry to be dry so far. Are there any questions on the November 2020 water report?
How far back does the average reach? Is that a rolling average of like 20 years or 10 years?
Yeah, I pull it up. It's mid 80s. I believe 86 is when they started collecting data for the Camp Jackson Snowtail. So that's what I used to.
We go all the way back to, we don't drop years off the front and then roll the average forward. Like, I know they do that in some things, so.
No, we don't. I just calculate these numbers directly from that. And so it just keeps building more data.
Right. Okay. Thanks. No other questions on water? November police chief.
Evening, Mayor and Council. November was a bit busier for us. We're up on cases quite a bit over last year's November. We're still continuing to see a rise in our DUI cases we catch every month. Our domestic violence has dropped a little bit this last little bit, which we're very grateful for. We picked up one dog and returned it to the owner in November, and we spent a lot of time chasing cows and horses this month for our animal problems instead of dogs.
Only in Blanding and Monticello and down south.
And
Montana and Wyoming.
That's true.
I know.
one thing I found interesting, I've had several citizens compliment our three newest guys for making stops throughout the community and working areas that are higher traffic, 300 West and places like that. I've had a lot of good compliments and people thanking us for working those areas, trying to slow the traffic down. So
I did ride along with the two newest not too many weeks ago, and as usual, I'm really impressed with the professionalism and the way they work with people and the judgment calls they make while they're out there on the road. And I'm grateful that I haven't been sitting in the car when something really going down. You know, I'd probably have let me jump out first, so I'm not in your way. You know, I let them go to work. But no, and it was really fun to ride with Chris, where he's younger and brand new, and he's on point. He's got it. You know, he was working just very professional, fun to watch.
speaking of, things that happen, we're working on putting together just a short clip, 5 or 10 minutes of some body cam footage of things we've done over the last year. And if we could maybe do a quick executive session in January, we could show that and then go over just how everybody's doing.
Well, yeah, and we talked about that last year as far as kind of reviewing goals for each individual officer and kind of some of the things we want to be doing going forward, improvements that we want to be looking at making, and any trouble spots that we need to address. So that's, and I will say that Chris Sanchez is not a respecter of persons on who he stops. Is he, David Johnson?
Yeah, that's very true. On my way to the mayor's house, even.
He got a little distracted driving, coming down in front of the cemetery, didn't realize this limit had changed there, and Chris stopped him. And then he came and found me and he said, "Who was that guy you were supposed to be meeting with?" His name's David Johnson. I just stopped him. Good job.
He did a mighty fine job welcoming me to the community. So
I just wish I'd still been riding with him when that occurred. That would have been so much more fun.
Sorry, so on the citations, I mean, I mean, that's not a small amount. That's a large increase from 2019.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, can we attribute that to anything? Is traffic increased?
I don't know if it's necessarily traffic has increased, but we're with COVID and not as many people on the highways,
Mhm.
the speeds have gone up dramatically. The highway patrol across the state, their numbers of catching people over 100 has just skyrocketed.
Got it.
I mean, we talked about the one lady that was doing 93 down Main Street
Yeah.
earlier this year, and it's not uncommon to stop people at 60 down Main Street every day.
I'm glad you're stopping them because they do haul, but that's a significant, like, that's
Yeah.
interesting. Huh.
We may attribute some of that to, brand new guys that are trying to get in the game and
Yeah.
understand a little more, but we could actually be riding a lot more.
Huh.
Just because
And then,
of the speeds and things we're getting.
and then something I should have asked, it says 171 with 206 violations. That means they pulled over 206 people, made
No,
206
so
stops,
there's a
or,
total of 171 citations issued,
okay,
but there are several, multiple violations. So you might catch somebody that is stopping for speed.
Oh, I
and you
got it.
find out they
Okay.
have expired registration or no insurance as well. So those will come into play
need
there.
2 violations. Okay, that makes sense. Wow, good job.
Anything else on police? Seeing none, rec report, David Palmer.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. You'll notice boys basketball numbers aren't on there. I reopened it again after I submitted my report because our numbers were really down. And by reopening it, we picked up over 20 more signups for opening it for a few more days. I think with the holidays and things, I just don't know that I think people just forgot. But anyhow, so we picked up quite a few more. We did a draft last night for boys basketball and have girls games finishing up a week from today. So I think things have gone pretty good. People are just excited that we're having it because so many places aren't. And so I think it's great. People have been pretty respectful about leaving out a different door than the one they enter, so we don't have traffic jams and stuff. People have been very gracious to our teenage security guard telling them to go somewhere else, and it's been good.
Well, but the people that are attending there, they know what the rules for the facility are, and it's working pretty smooth that way.
Yeah, it's going pretty good. Another thing I wanted to bring up, it also happened after I submitted my rec report. I got Burke to come down. They're the ones who did our new playground down there on the surfacing, because it just shouldn't look like that. And so got him down here, and he said that our surfacing looks like it's 20 years old. It is just pathetic. And I think it's attributed to them when they installed it, the weather was too cold. And not only that, when they came and tried to do that patchwork and fix it the second time, where you can see it coming up, you can see that it's really thin in areas and it's not consistent. And so it's just caused a lot of wear and tear and just made it look dingy and just no good. So they're going to replace the whole thing.
Well, I questioned them on that when it was done originally. I asked if they were going forward with it. Yeah, I think we're good.
Yeah,
And I thought, I
they
don't
were.
think you are,
So
but it's on you.
Yeah. It's going to cost them a lot to do that. It's not costing us anything, which is great. I asked them not to come until the spring when the weather was warmer, so because we don't want there to be any chance of that happening again. I guess it's going to be a fairly simple process. They'll take a couple inches out and peel off the top few inches. They said probably just a good amount and re-pour everything in one solid pour. And so, yeah, he said that shouldn't look like that until it's about 20 years old. So the complaints and the things that we've been seeing when we go down there, we've been accurate in our suggestions. Like, man, we spent a lot of money on this material thinking it was going to be the right thing to do because they sold us on it, and we just haven't been happy with it. We haven't been happy because it's been subpar. So good news, this spring they're going to redo that. So
Sounds good. Thanks, Dave.
other than that, I don't really have anything else unless
How'd they leave the facility for the Christmas fair?
it was good.
Good.
Yeah. PJ texted me throughout you know, with questions and we stayed in contact. And I called my desk clerk Sarah a number of times, making sure everything was good, but
Everything was in good repair and.
no, yeah, it was good. You know, this year was a lot different because they didn't have the dancers
Yeah.
and all the entertainment, and that just, the crowds are crazy. I think some of you have been there in years past when it's, you know, shoulder to shoulder. And I think not having that, I really liked how they set up the tables. They were really spread out, gave people a lot of room to move around. And PJ said he was really happy with how it went.
So I was happy with what I saw.
Yeah, me too. Everybody was very respectful, and there's lots of mask signs, and they wore their masks. And I even saw someone who wasn't necessarily for us putting on this fair for safety concerns, and they posted how safe they felt like it was when they decided to go. So because of the distance between, I mean, how big the facility is, it was perfect for that.
There's really
Thank
nowhere
you.
else in town they could have
Yeah.
that, but
A lot of good vendors too. I mean, they spent a lot of time working on their stuff, and it was fun to see them selling it.
I hope they feel it was worth it too, that they were able
Yeah.
to sell their stuff. So that was-
Okay, anything else on rec? Looks like you're good.
Have
Go watch
fun.
football.
Yeah.
Football.
Yeah. Guess it's not football anymore.
Oh, is it basketball tonight? I think it's
I'm more a
basketball.
football guy.
It's kind of cold out there.
Yeah. Well, football starts in the summer and ends in the dead of winter every year, back when I used to go to the games. Okay, on to the regular agenda items, council schedule 2021 or 21. The only question I had was the date, and I think it's probably okay, the date in September for the League of Cities and Towns. Is it that week that falls on the 14th? Is that going to be a conflict and we have a lot of people gone? And we're probably okay having the meeting anyway.
It's probably that's probably the same week as the league, but
It usually hasn't been a problem. We still had who we need to make a meeting go, so
You can call in.
that's true.
Hey,
It's just, yeah, this is
good
more,
point.
as much as I'm not a huge fan of the electronic meetings, they do work. And now that we've run them and got experience with them, it's a slick deal to call in, so that's true. Is there any questions on either of those two schedules? That one needs to be approved by council in order to be the official schedule.
Human Rights Day, did that used to be called something else?
Martin Luther.
Oh,
So they both need a motion or just the.
They can be together.
I move that we approve the council meeting schedule as it shows there and the holidays for 2021.
Somewhere in Monson, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it's everybody. City administrator employment contract. So, in talking with Dave, and we both read over the contract, I had Kendall go over it to see if there's any changes that he would recommend. And Dave took it to his city administrator up in Saratoga Springs, who I've heard is a really fantastic guy. And he made two recommendations. And when I started asking around, they're things that have been, they're kind of boilerplate for all city administrators across the state. So we added one sentence and one word to the existing contract. And the sentence is, the administrator may not be terminated within 6 months of the election or appointment of new city council members or a new mayor. So the defense there is, if for purely political reasons, somebody gets elected and said, I'm getting rid of this guy, that administrator, he or she, has at least 6 months to win them over. And so their job isn't immediately in jeopardy due to politics. I think it's a really good change. And then the next one, it used to say the section 4 shall not apply. In section 4, anyway, you don't worry about what that is, but you could terminate an administrator for cause, and it used to say which means malfeasance, commission of a felony or crime involving moral turpitude or willful misconduct detrimental to the interests of the city. We added one word, proven. You can't just make accusations or have hearsay and act on that. It's proven malfeasance, commission of a felony, etc. So those are the two contract changes on actual paper. And so we negotiated this, and my recommendation is that we, the salary would be $93,000 a year, which is just a tiny bit above the minimum on our matrix, with a $2,500 moving allowance and 40 hours of personal leave pre-accrued. Other than that, the contract's the same. What's that?
40 hours personally
Of-
pre-accrued?
Well, it just starts with 40 hours instead of having none till
Till they
some
accrue.
is able to accrue.
Part of
Um,
the reason they do that though, so they don't take time off right when they're learning and
That could be, I asked around on that, and a lot of cities were given 40, some were given 60. Well, that's way too much.
I mean, 40 hours isn't terrible. That's,
Yeah.
you're not asking for 100.
Well, it gives somebody a little bit of flexibility, and for the contract, the contract would be effective on January 1, and insurance would begin on January 1. They won't be here until the 11th, and the salary would be prorated to that date. There's a lot going on there that's just making it between houses and family things anyway. But he's also not being paid for all the time he spent working with staff over the last few weeks and throughout the rest of the month. So he's really reaching out a lot to staff to make that work. So it's 40 hours, 2,500 moving allowance, and 93,000 a year. That's what I'm asking for approval on. And I don't know if it has to be by motion or it's advice and consent, because I already had authority of council to negotiate the contract, and
It's good to
so
me.
by a nod of heads, we're good all the way in. Katie, we got 4 anyway, so,
Yeah, it's good.
okay.
So where are you moving to?
He's gonna be hauling water and pushing snow. He's
Uh-oh.
got himself a place out there at the Dude Ranch.
Oh, yeah.
I tried to warn him off, I needed to buy a tractor.
The current owners have a tractor they were willing to give me, but
Well, it's hope that you're pushing snow.
Yeah.
Not running city water up there.
No, I don't know where people up there haul water from. Where did they get potable water that they're hauling in? Yeah, that's.
They're well,
I do have a well, yeah, and it at
Minimal.
times may need to be supplemented with hauling, but there's a well there, so that's
Mhm. It does some.
yeah.
Okay. Anyway,
Good.
he's staying in really,
Great place.
Dave's reached out to a lot of the staff. When he gets here, I'm going to introduce him to everybody that he already knows. So, and he's a curious guy. He's learning a lot. He's going to ask a lot of questions. I hope people understand the questions aren't to question what's happening, it's to learn what's happening. There is a difference. So anyway, good to have you.
Yes, thank you all
If
very
you
much.
you come down anytime in between, that's great too. So come take a visit if you want.
Yeah, we're trying to see what we can work out between the
Okay.
holidays and packing and all that fun stuff. So if there's an
Yeah,
opportunity.
'cause the dates on closing were like the December 30th and then the 6th. So you're
Yeah.
making that trade in there, and you're no man's land in between.
Yeah, we'll be sleeping in the U-Haul with our stuff. So just kidding. We've got family to stay with kind of in the interim. So
All right. Okay. Good then, moving on. Stormwater change order. So that, before I hand this over, Terry, we're still well within, I mean, we're allocating more money because of the change order, but we're still well within the budget allowance that was made anticipating possible change orders, right? Are we still good there? Or I guess that'd be more of a question for Kim on budget.
probably it's a question for me, really.
Okay.
We're tight. We're really tight. I'm projecting about $8,000 in the black. The numbers that I don't have are final construction engineering numbers from Jones and DeMille and Hanson Allen and Luce. We're finishing prepping record documents and everything. And then the one final work item that we have, as we negotiated right of way with Richard Perkins down there by our property at Centennial, we committed to do some work in removing that large pond bank just south of San Juan Building Supply. And so we still need to complete that work. I've been working with Holiday Construction to get a dozer in there and do that. And that'll probably be a time and materials type contract. I think we should be good to go budget wise. I guess that was a long answer to just say that, but
Well, it's good to know you're watching the details so you know where we're coming out.
yeah, I've been watching those pretty closely. So
Okay.
this change order is one that I've kind of indicated. What we've done is two things. One, we had the changes with that water line running on a big goofy angle by the furniture store, really kind of messed our alignment up and caused some changes to be made. And then what we've done with this final change order is just balanced the unit price items, so the ones that we underran, we've changed, and then the ones we've overran, we've changed. And so that comes out to a net increase of $33,631.50 to the contract with Jackson's. And then it also involves time besides compensation. We've increased 7 days on the end because of those changes that we've talked about for both substantial and final completion. And we're there now. We're way past substantial and we've pretty much finalized that job out. And I'll go ahead and process the final pay estimate once council has approved this change order. Are there any questions on the change order itself?
I think you explained it pretty well. Anybody have any questions?
Will you remind me where the asphalt overage was and additional rock?
Yeah, so the asphalt overage, the additional rock, most of that rock was on the first part of the project, from the patio all the way up past the North Chapel. And if you remember, we've talked about that in council, that we didn't anticipate any rock there and we were in rock most of the way. And so we had some changes there, and then we got into a little more rock up just right there. What do they call that building south of the seminary on the corner that the university has? Anyway, there was some rock X there. So that's what those numbers are on the rock. And then on the asphalt, that came in two places. What we get into when we have more rock than we anticipate with the track hose excavating the ditch for the new pipe, a lot of times asphalt gets damaged more than what it would have had there not been rock. So we had some overage in the areas of rock excavation. And then we had a piece along 100 North where we were just leaving a narrow 3 to 4 foot strip between the ditch for the new pipe and the existing curb and gutter. And we've kind of looked at budgets and made a decision to remove that asphalt and just replace it as it fit in our budget. And it would be a much better road when we were done having made that change. So that was kind of a design change during the course of the project.
Okay. Any other questions? So we need a motion to approve the change order.
Make a motion to approve the stormwater project change order number 3.
I'll second it.
Turk and Monson, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you.
we're official. Thanks, Terry. Financial audit report. So here's my confession. I used to like to read through these, and I did not read through any of this one. Right. Well, you haven't failed me yet. In 8 years, it's, anyway. I haven't ever asked a question yet that Kim hasn't had a pretty good answer for, or said, I don't know, and then found the answer. So, but I didn't read this one at all. There's my confession.
Seems like it's been forever since we had the audit.
That's what I was thinking. Wasn't it still
was done
summer?
back in August, and it took Kimball and Roberts a little bit longer to get it put together to get the report back. And when the report finally came back, then Jeremy was looking at leaving, and we were in the middle of a whole bunch of other things, and we're finally here. So I distributed the books. I know there's a lot of information in there, so I put together some slides here just to kind of help us go through it like I've done in previous years and hit some of the high points. And Fred, if you'll go to the next slide. Our city assets exceed our liabilities by $52,244,829. This is up from last year, an increase of $333,902. You can see the numbers on there. Thinking that increase is probably due to some of the projects that we've been doing. 73% of that reflects an investment in capital, less the debt that's on them. And that's a pretty good spot to be, but we're in pretty good shape there. I'd like to see that number always going up just a little bit. 8.5 is unrestricted. It can be used for city's obligations. This number is right close to where it was last year too. So we're staying pretty steady there. Next slide, Pratt. The general fund had a fund ending balance of 4.5 million. And this was also up from last year.
So it's not a negative then in front of it.
No, that's my little, yeah, I looked at
Don't worry
it.
about that.
Negative.
Negative on there, but it's just the way I built the slide, I guess. And 9% of that is available for spending. The remaining is restricted. We've talked about, we have funds that can only be used in certain areas, and those are where those dollars are restricted to.
Did you say an increase or a decrease? This paper says a decrease.
For what?
So on the general fund, it says the general fund reported an ending fund balance of the 4.5.
A decrease of 74.
Hey, don't be checking up on me.
Well, when I come in to do the final audit discussion with the auditors, and there's a whole bunch of people here that are way smarter than me, and they've poured over this stuff year by year. They pour over every conceivable little detail, and we don't even have anything to talk about when I come in to sign off on the audit, because it's that clean every year. It's pretty amazing.
I'm gonna have to double check that, but I thought that it was an increase, so I don't have that note here with me. So I'll double check, just shoot out an email on that if that's okay.
In the book here on page 6, it does say that it was a decrease of that amount.
Okay. Thank you.
No email needed.
I might send one anyway. Okay, go ahead. We didn't receive any grants or federal funding this year. Our project for the stormwater was done by bond, by the loan that we took out on that. The long-term debt at the end of the year is 9.8. And I believe that is also an increase from last year, of course. Revenues are 5.6 times the average annual debt service. By statute, we have to be at 1.25, and we're way above that, so we're in good shape there, which means we're not borrowing too much money. A balance of $213,000 is left by the natural gas fund to pay back the electric fund at the end of the year. And then we did make a payment at the 1st of July, so that's going to be reduced by, I think, $20,000, give or take a few thousand there.
We set that up, we amortized that because they asked us to do that. And are we
Yes.
just gonna float with that amortization? Is that the recommendation, or do we want to make a balloon payment and just knock it out?
I kind of think we ought to just keep chugging along on that because it leaves us a little bit more money, in the natural gas
As
fund. to
Kelly
do some other
Laws and
stuff.
I said, if we weren't still sitting at this table, we would come back to haunt you in 2021 if there was a balance left. So just remember that.
And there was no findings this year, no non-compliance. So
Congrats.
if you ever have any questions regarding that report or the handout, I'm happy to meet with you or answer by email or whatever. I know there's a lot of information in there, so I just try to cover what I think is most important.
Well, no finding is no small theme when you consider the scale of the accounting that goes on in the city and the complexity of doing fund accounting, and there's a lot of numbers, and it's good. I'm married to an accountant, so I know it, and a finding will just, it's like next to death. That's the worst thing that can happen.
So you need a motion to approve that?
Yep.
So a motion to approve the 2019-2020 financial audit report.
Second. I'm going with Monson and Shumway on that one. All in favor?
Hi.
That's everybody. Okay, Christmas dumpster. That could be read a little bit funny but that's just to help people out with all the accumulation of stuff that can happen on Christmas and the day or two after.
Did you love the way that just come right after the financial stuff? I didn't do that on purpose.
This has been really successful in the past, and I've had a lot of people comment that they really appreciate it if we get the word out there, make sure they know it's huge.
Well, we kind of ran into a snag this year.
And that is,
The county, due to COVID, will not have the staff
mhm,
to be able to help us out with that this year. What they have been doing is they were coming in on the afternoon of Christmas Eve and leaving it, and then it would be there through Christmas Day and then picking it up the next morning. And he says, I'm sorry, I just don't have the staff to do that this year. We're going to be shorthanded.
can we call Waste Management directly and have them bring
So-
something?
I had two thoughts. The concern that I could see with Waste Management was getting them here on Saturday to pick it up. Because if we sit it there all weekend, we're gonna have garbage going everywhere. One suggestion that I would have would just make Saturday, when our transfer station is open, to be a free dump day. It's open from 9 to 3. That would be the suggestion I have. And
So in the past, the county brought the dumpster?
yes, and all we paid for was when they dumped it.
I always thought that was Waste Management, so that's good to know. My concern is it's just, getting out to the landfill, to the transfer station, isn't easy for everyone. And is it worse to have it sitting there through the whole weekend? Is that more worse than people leaving, trash all over outside by their
Well,
trash
we've
bins?
got a couple. If we don't do something, they're gonna pile it out by their trash cans
Right.
and
And it won't get picked
it
up.
won't get picked up.
Right.
If we have Waste Management bring in a dumpster and it sits there all weekend, because we tried 2 years ago to leave them there longer, and we found couches and all kinds of stuff
Mhm.
thrown into those. So we went to the one day last year, and that worked really well. We didn't get it overfilled. They come in, we had enough, it was worth it. It was full, but we didn't have stuff blowing everywhere, and we didn't find odd things. I think we found a TV and a couch or something the last, 2 years ago. So we're kind of in this odd spot of what should we do? I can check with Waste Management and see if they would pick it up on Saturday, but I got a feeling that they probably won't, but I'm happy to ask.
It's worth asking. Just to
Okay.
see. For me, at least.
I don't see a problem with it staying until Monday if they could pick up Monday, but
Yeah, where it's Sunday in between, Sunday might not be a big couch and TV throwing away day, but if we can get the word out there, be respectful of this. This is a service to the community for all that flow of stuff that you're not going to get in your dumpster, and let's use it right, and maybe Monday would be fine.
Will we have our security cameras up by then?
that's a good
Theoretically,
idea
we
too.
should, so that
We
might
could
help.
put monitored by security cameras.
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah,
I also think
I
if someone puts
think I
their
want to
couch
talk-
in there, is that the worst thing in the world? I don't know. Is it
Whether
better
it
than
takes all
going
this-
dumping it out at the dump on the dump road or something?
I think what happened is when they threw that stuff in there, then there wasn't room for the paper
Yeah.
stuff, and then it was
Overkill.
everywhere.
What it was meant for got eaten up by big stuff.
I know 2 years ago, he picked it up because we had it there for 2 days. He actually come out on Christmas Day and swapped the dumpster for us because it had everything and anything in it. And then he came back the day after Christmas and swapped it out again. And then
So
come back,
full?
it seems like he swapped it 3 times, yeah, because
Oh.
people were just throwing everything and anything in it. So that would be my concern if we didn't have it picked up.
So how full did it get last year?
We had one out here and it was full. And I don't know,
How big
but
was
we
it?
had it right out front here and we were here the day after Christmas, so we were spying out the window, so.
It's
I
one of the
share
big ones, isn't it?
concerns with him. And I noticed too that it seems like we had to have city staff out there pushing things down into it to try to make more room. I think that if it's there over the weekend, that city staff will either have to work on Christmas and over the weekend. But for sure, when they get back on Monday, they'll be picking up trash for a long time. I really think that's what will happen if we try to do something that way. I really think probably our solution is this year free dump. But are we saying that that's for city residents?
Yes.
I think so.
I don't know, for Christmas, I'd say if you call Blanding home, you're in for that day. That's kind of where I would lean on that.
Could I maybe make a recommendation?
Go for it.
Listening to the conversation, how pressing is it, just not having obviously lived there, how pressing is it to have it the day after? Why not do it for one day on Monday?
It's a thought, people just have to hang on to their stuff, but bring it when
It's
they
better
can.
than having it right out to the transfer station or letting it stack up.
Mhm.
I just don't know if they'd hang on to it till Monday. They may.
And they have
Well,
to
where-
anyway.
where
'cause
else
their
they gonna
trash
put
bins
it?
aren't gonna get
There's not a
full.
pickup day on Saturday or Sunday or Christmas
That's
Day,
actually a good idea.
so.
And those people who don't want it to stack up can go to the transfer station. And just pay. I like that.
Yeah, good idea. Who likes it?
I do.
I think it's
But will the county do that?
I'll check with Randy and see if he'll do
It'd be
Monday.
easier, and if he's not able to Monday, we could still talk to Waste Management for one on Monday and picked up Tuesday morning or whatever, however that works,
Okay,
one way or the other.
Let the record show I had one good idea to start with, so.
I'm making that note here.
Me never get another one.
Okay, moving on.
That was a good idea.
Centennial Park Fields dirt. Now, I've been really intrigued by this one. You gotta educate me on dirt.
Filter is so important.
I'm not the one to do the educating, but I am the one that has been talked to about
Okay,
being educated on this. So, it's been a talk for a while. We just haven't really done anything with it. The emails that we have go back to this year, I mean, July is when this has been brought up with Jeremy. We didn't really get much motion on it. So I was approached and asked if we would consider making it a project. And this person had some contact with Jeremy, and they had kind of gone back and forth, and we're going to get some bids and see kind of what it would cost to do this. It sounds to me from the people that I've talked to that the dirt that was put in was good, but there's too much of it, which makes it hard to use. I'm not a baseball player, so again, this is not my specialty, I suppose. But in his email, he said that the baseball, softball fields are a tremendous asset to the community. However, they desperately need functional baseball dirt to realize their full utility. If the city has a desire to make these upgrades to the fields, I'm willing to donate $5,000 towards the cause. I know this is not tons, but this is something that I feel passionate about, so I want to put my money where my mouth is. The estimated cost that they had figured out was about $20,000, about $5,000 a field to get this done. They had some conversations with a few different companies and got some costs on that, and that's kind of where they came up with that estimate. So it's not a good hard number, but it's kind of an estimate from what they were given. And then they've also talked to people about removing the dirt that's down there, which wouldn't necessarily have to be wasted. It's good top dirt for the baseball field, so it could be reused and kept somewhere over there to continue to use it, so it's not all going to waste. So more or less, I am here to see if this is of interest to anyone, or if anyone feels like this is important to make happen. If then I would investigate this a little bit more with more help. I just didn't want to get too deep in it if there's no interest and it's not going to go anywhere anyways.
I would just be looking for advice from people who understand this, the sporting aspect of it and what the qualities are, what's there and how it needs to act and whether it's doing that well.
I wasn't aware there was a problem with it.
So it's removing the dirt that's there and replacing it with different.
So it's, yeah, so in the email that had happened with Jeremy before, the research behind it was that the baseball fields and complexes similar to ours recommend a mix of 15 to 20% clay, 10 to 15% silt, and 70% with a good sand. On professional fields, they usually use 30%, about 30% of clay, more clay on that. And I guess the idea behind this is that it's easy to maintain, and that when it gets watered, it doesn't get too hard. You don't want it to be too hard. And they went through the cost of it and kind of how much it would be. So most of these places do their infield mix. They get it from, there's a place over in Washington, Iron County, that gave samples, I guess, and things. But anyways, they have to take, you have to remove all of what's down there basically to about an inch below the playing surface. They talked to Sondragers about getting that done and said it wouldn't be an issue. They wouldn't damage the field. They would be able to get it out pretty quick. And then obviously just replace it with what they recommended and the pricing. And there's different options as far as how you can do that, and what, but the pricing ended up to be about the same from what I have been told. And I've talked to a few people, and they say that our fields aren't the greatest quality to play on. Like I said, I don't play baseball and really have any interest in playing baseball, but some people do, and so that's important. And obviously, if 25% of the cost is a pretty decent donation to the cause, so I figured at least I'd bring it up and we could go from there.
Mike's coached on those fields for a lot of years, and he said the dirt is bad. I shouldn't say it's bad. It's just not the dirt that you want to play on. They tried to bring in on our own dollar, bring in some and mix it. This was a while back to try and improve it, and it helped for a little while, but once it rained, it just got hard again. And I mean, he has said that the dirt on there is just not, it's not what you want to play on. So definitely is harder on the kids. But, and someone willing to donate $5,000, that's a lot. Maybe we can do
Initially they
one.
talked
Maybe we
about
do two fields or
putting a
something.
committee together and getting the whole cost donated, but we were a little bit hesitant on that just because we didn't want it to be this is what we did, now we need this done. We didn't want to fall into something like that is what I have been told as to why we didn't go that route. And we
Well,
felt
we have our agreement with the school district on facility use, and I don't know if this would play into there at all, or maybe they pitch in a 5,000 and our 10,
Kim and I looked
or if
into
that's
it.
out of the question, the agreement, just the fields are ours to maintain. I don't know what that agreement states.
From the agreement, I mean, we read through it today and it could go either direction, but it also could go to, this is our field, we should maintain that. Those are their fields, they should maintain those. But I think if there is some interest, I was gonna call the superintendent, but didn't feel like we were at a point to do that quite yet. If we want to look into a few more things, I'm happy to look into more of that. I just didn't want to spend too much time if it was like, well.
Well, the people that are gonna, obviously our younger children will benefit from that, but the high school players are the ones that will really benefit the most.
Yeah.
So it seems to me like the school maybe would have an interest in going in on it with us.
Yeah, if the scope of the agreement is that that's ours and those are theirs, it still doesn't hurt to ask the question, say, we're looking at this, would you guys be able to help us out a little? And if they say, no, we're doing ours, you do yours, then we're fine. But never hurts to ask, or the high school team is one of the key players in what happens down there. So they may have an interest in supporting that.
It's interesting when we built that down there, I was involved in that project and in the dirt. And that was a recommended thing that you go to someplace in Arizona and you buy that crushed lava rocks.
Was it kind of an experiment at the time?
Everybody was using that at the time, and so that's what we put in there. It's interesting that it's not held up.
Well, maybe
as well.
over time, it's been there a long
Well,
time.
It's been there a long time.
Maybe
It may
it's-
just be that it's hard,
Maybe just wore
hardened,
out.
yeah.
I'm curious if, were you able to find out what the cost is to remove that inch of dirt, as well as what the annual or just the maintenance is for it?
Is there 20,000, the whole removing and replacing, or is that just the dirt coming in?
I think it's the total. So I asked specifically and the total, so in one estimate, and they didn't estimate it completely, but in one they said 20 and the next one they said 15 to 20. So that included removing the dirt and replacing
The whole project.
I talked to Jeremy sorry, David. I talked to Jeremy just for a minute today and mentioned that, to see if he had any further information. He just says, we just never got down the road on that because it really didn't come up until, September-ish. or
Well, I
something.
think we kind of skipped baseball completely this
Yeah,
year.
they just had these casual conversations, but it never really got off the ground or working towards anything.
Okay. Dave, you had a comment?
Yeah, is there, maybe it's something we need to look into, is there a recommendation of how, because here, the city that I'm in currently, we just did a 6 baseball field complex that we just opened last year. And the dirt was a big thing. So I can ask our recreation director a little bit more if maybe he's got some info as well. But what I'm curious about is long-term maintenance. Does that dirt need to be replaced or added to every X number of years, and what the cost is? I think that would be, the ongoing maintenance costs would be a good thing to find out as well.
Well, so where are we? You can gather a little more information and then we got till the snow flies in April to,
And I think it'd be a good idea to talk to the school district.
Well, and I have a question. Isn't this a capital projects? Isn't this the kind of thing that we put on our capital projects improvement plan? So are we jumping the gun talking about it because we have all these other things that are planned out for capital improvements at that location? Are we pushing this ahead of it?
I spoke with David he and I chatted the other day and we went over that capital projects plan, which needs to come to council in first part of January, so we can start working that. This could be added, substituted, you know, for
Just
some
see
of
where it
those other
fits.
things on there. That's just gonna be entirely up to you.
I would recommend looking at it in conjunction with the capital projects. Plan.
If we don't have it in, if we don't have the discussion and know what it is, we don't know whether we want to add it or not. So I think if we get a little further information and see if the school district has an interest, answer David's question there on long-term maintenance and costs and things like that. If there's some input we can get there where they've just done one, that might be really good information. And then we'll know more in January whether we want to throw it in or not.
Agreed.
We're kind of good with that then.
Good.
Okay, move forward then. Okay, Bears Ears National Monument Resolution. I really appreciated that Cheryl's kind of been driving this thing, because when I was sitting in that chair, I would, over a lot of years, I was paying a lot of attention to these things. And when she brought it up, I thought that we definitely need to be paying attention to this, in my opinion. So
Well, it's unfortunate that
go for it.
we have to address it again, but you know,
Well, we knew we
sometimes
would. So here we are.
we figured we would. I just didn't know it was gonna be this soon. I didn't know it was gonna, happen the way it did. But in front of you is so the county commission passed a resolution requesting the supposed president-elect make it a priority of his new administration to increase the Bears Ears, to restore the Bears Ears is what they called it, but I would call it an increase to the Bears Ears. And so that resolution that they pass is in front of you. And since when this goes out to the media, I don't know if you guys saw the articles on this, but when it goes out to the media makes it sound like all of San Juan County wants the Bears Ears to be increased. And certainly, I know there's a lot of us.
That was not a unanimous vote either.
No, it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't. I know a lot of us disagree with an increase to the Bears Ears for many reasons. And so I would like to make our position as city council members and as the mayor on this clear and sent to our local legislators and our federal legislators and also the news media, so they understand that maybe this isn't the entire county, that there's people here who feel differently than the commission does. So in front of you is one resolution that would be just from the city, and mayor put a big part in writing this up, and I thought it was excellent because it's short and very to the point. And then I've reached out to the city of Monticello as well to see how their council felt, and they are in discussions of writing this resolution with us jointly, so that it came from both cities, city councils and both mayors. And so there's actually two in front of you. One is the joint, one is just for us. And I was hoping if the council approves, we could approve both of them tonight. So that way, if Monticello approves, we can move forward with the joint resolution.
It's a pretty good nutshell view of it. So, and it references our two previous official position papers from 2016 and 2019.
That we would send with this, yeah.
Just to remind people that we haven't changed our opinion and that should be considered valid. So this would go out to media, it would go out to all of our state and national level representatives.
On the two, so I guess my only real question is, the resolution number is the same on both of them? Does that need to be different?
It's one, no, it's one, well, it's the
I
same.
didn't know what
It's just
resolution number it would be.
I think the resolution number can be the same. It's just which version of it is adopted
Right.
based on.
So if you choose to use the one with Monticello, we'll throw away the other one.
Okay,
So if we approve
so it's not us
this,
doing one and then us doing a separate one together, right?
Right,
It would
no.
just be one chair.
Which has more power, us together or separate?
I think it has a lot of weight if they go along with it, right?
What if Monticello doesn't?
then we would do just the
Okay, so
individual.
we could approve it to where
Or
we
they would have the option of doing something similar. Maybe they don't want to voice it exactly like we have, and they may do something different, in which case we have to stand alone. And they still may do one, or they may say, we like what you've written and we're on board with the joint. But if we approve one or the other, then just is pending Monticello's joining with us as to which one we publish. I think we're fine with that because it's all written down. We know exactly what it is.
Yeah, no, I'm good with it, and I certainly don't think that I speak for every citizen in Blanding, but I say the majority of those that we represent agrees with this. And I mean, I know that there's some that don't, but I would say that the strong majority would say that this represents the thoughts of the city.
The only thing I'll add is that the one thing I thought about putting in here was the concern that with every change in administration of our presidency, with us being part of the Antiquities Act, we could get reduced and then increased and then reduce, and we don't want that. And so I thought, but it kind of muddied the waters after I read what you
Yeah, it
put.
starts to get cloudy.
And if
that
we want, we
discussion's
can-
already being had in Congress, so,
Right.
yeah.
But it would be good I think if we individually talk to I think Phil kind of knows where we stand, but I think if we talk to our other federal legislators and explain to them, we don't want this back and forth, we want to stay
Brought up with
where
John
we
Curtis
are.
here, too.
We did,
Yeah.
that's true. That's true. But really, the majority point is that the lawmakers and the media understand that the county was not representing all of San Juan County.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, I would prefer to do it with Monticello. So do you need a motion for just that? I mean, approve that one?
I think approve
Either or.
both of them
I
on
think you
contingent
approve
upon
the
what Monticello.
resolution number.
Okay.
And the motion would be to approve the resolution number relative to Bears Ears pending Monticello joining us or having it be a Blanding only resolution. Just say so moved and we'll be good. You got it?
So I'll make that motion to approve resolution 12-8-2020-1.
No, second your motion.
Okay, so it's Monson and Turk, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we got us another resolution and hopefully it has a voice with our representatives. We know it won't have much voice with a lot of people. Good work on that, Cheryl. Thanks for bringing that up.
And thank you for your help as well. And thanks to the council for listening to that again. It's important. And we signed all the council members signed the one from 2019, which we're going to send anyway. So I would think you could sign this one, or do we all need to sign it?
I would put it in the formal, on our formal
Right,
letterhead
yeah.
stuff with the space for all of the signatures.
Okay.
Yeah,
I like
You
that.
have a copy of
I can do
both of them.
Yeah, well,
The-
when you know which one you would like signed, if you just let me know, then I'll print the resolution and then I'll have it here. and We can get it
Let
signed.
everybody know to
even
come in
in-
and sign it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I would too.
Is
Good point.
Monticello's
Good
council
point.
tonight as well?
Yes,
So we should know tomorrow. I mean, we could come in and sign tomorrow.
I hope so.
Okay, good.
So I'll let everybody know as soon as we know one way
Okay.
or the other.
Well, on
Thank you.
information, I was going to ask how the Christmas craft fair went, and we already had that report, so that's good. Is there
That's
any
excellent.
other information items? Okay, we do need a really quick executive session. Somebody wants to make that motion?
Make a motion that we move to executive session for a quick executive session.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah,
second it.
that was very
I'll second it
specific.
for really
so-
long executive.
Okay, now there's a